Some of you think being alone means you've been forgotten. You think the silence is proof that life passed you by, that opportunities skipped your door, that somehow you got left behind while everyone else moved forward. But I need you to understand something. Isolation is not punishment. It's preparation. When life pulls you away from the crowd, it's not trying to bury you. It's trying to build you. Because there are some things you cannot learn in noise. There is a level of strength you cannot develop when everybody is clapping for you, supporting you, carrying you, validating you every step of the way. Real power is built when nobody is watching, when nobody is checking on you, when nobody is coming to save you. See, when you're alone, the truth gets loud. There's no one to blame, no one to impress, no one to perform for. Just you and the mirror, just you and your discipline, just you and your excuses, and that's uncomfortable. That's why most people run from it. They fill every quiet moment with distractions, scrolling, noise, drama, anything to avoid sitting with themselves. Because silence will show you who you really are. Silence will expose whether you're committed or just interested. Silence will reveal whether your dreams are real or just something you talk about when it sounds good. But the ones who become unstoppable, they don't run from isolation, they lean into it. They treat it like a training ground. While others are out chasing attention, they're in the dark building ability. While others are addicted to approval, they're developing discipline. And discipline is powerful because it doesn't depend on mood, motivation, or applause. It shows up whether you feel like it or not. It works whether anybody notices or not. That's how greatness is formed, not in front of the crowd, but far away from it. You've got to stop interpreting your alone season as abandonment. Nobody is against you. You're just being strengthened for something bigger than your current comfort zone. Think about it. Seeds grow underground first. Nobody sees the struggle beneath the soil. Nobody applauds the breaking, the pressure, the darkness. But without that hidden process, there is no visible growth. If the seed demanded sunlight before it developed roots, it would die the moment a storm came. And some of you are being kept underground right now because your roots are still forming. Your character is still hardening. Your mindset is still being upgraded. And let me be real with you, preparation doesn't feel good. Growth is heavy. Becoming stronger hurts because it requires letting go of who you used to be. It means facing your weaknesses instead of hiding behind them. It means doing the work even when it feels like it doesn't matter, especially then, because every rep you do in private is a deposit into your future power. Every early morning nobody sees, every sacrifice nobody applauds, every time you choose discipline over comfort, that's construction. That's reinforcement. That's you becoming someone who won't collapse under pressure later. Stop wishing for company and start using the quiet. Stop asking, why am I alone? And start asking, what am I supposed to build while I'm here? Because this season has an assignment. Maybe it's healing, maybe it's skill development, maybe it's learning how to depend on yourself instead of leaning on people who can't carry your destiny. Whatever it is, it cannot be completed in the middle of noise and distraction. It requires focus. It requires honesty. It requires you, and here's the beautiful part, when you come out of isolation after using it correctly, you don't come out needy, desperate, or fragile. You come out solid. You come out focused. You come out dangerous in the best way, because you know what you survived without. You know what you built with your own hands. You know you don't need constant support to keep moving forward. That kind of confidence can't be handed to you. It has to be forged, so don't curse this season. Don't rush it. Don't waste it. This is your training camp, not your prison. What you do here will determine how you perform when the lights finally turn on. Use this time. because one day the world will see what you built in the dark. And then there comes a moment when the noise is gone, the phones stop ringing, the invitations slow down, the room gets quiet, and suddenly it's just you. No audience, no performance, no filters, just you and your thoughts. And that's when things get real. Because when you're surrounded by people, it's easy to play a role. It's easy to become what everybody expects, what everybody applauds, what everybody accepts. You can hide insecurity behind humor, fear behind busyness, emptiness behind popularity, but when you're alone, every mask falls off. There's nowhere to hide from yourself. See, silence has a way of turning the volume up on everything you've been avoiding. The doubts you buried start speaking. The pain you ignored starts surfacing. The habits you justified start exposing themselves. And most people panic at that point. They run back to noise as fast as they can, back to distractions, back to people, back to anything that keeps them from facing what's inside. But growth doesn't happen out there. It happens in here, and the art of being alone is learning not to escape that confrontation, but to lean into it. Because the truth is, you cannot become powerful if you don't know who you are without the crowd. Who are you when nobody is clapping? Who are you when nobody is encouraging you? Who are you when nobody is watching to make sure you stay on track? That's the real you, not the curated version, not the polished version, the raw version, and that version might scare you at first. You might discover you're more afraid than you thought, more undisciplined than you admitted, more hurt than you realized. But listen to me, exposure is not destruction, exposure is opportunity. You can't fix what you refuse to face. Alone time forces honesty, it strips away illusions, it doesn't let you pretend you're okay when you're not. It doesn't let you hide behind busy schedules or social approval. It sits you down and says, look at yourself, not who you wish you were, not who you used to be, who you are right now. And that moment, that uncomfortable, raw, unfiltered moment, is where transformation begins. Because once you see clearly, you can start building intentionally. Some of you have spent years trying to impress people who don't even know the real you. You built an image instead of a foundation. But images collapse under pressure. Foundations hold, and foundations are poured in private. They're shaped in quiet moments when you decide to work on your character instead of your reputation, your discipline instead of your appearance, your healing instead of your hiding. That's the work nobody posts about. That's the work nobody applauds. But it's the work that changes everything. When you learn to sit with yourself, to understand your triggers, your patterns, your strengths, your weaknesses, you gain control. Not over the world, but over the one person you actually can control, you. And once you control yourself, the world stops controlling you. Criticism doesn't shatter you. Rejection doesn't define you. Loneliness doesn't terrify you. Why? Because you've already been in the room with your own mind and survived. You've already wrestled with your fears and didn't run away. You've already proven you can exist without constant validation. And something powerful happens when you reach that point. You stop needing people to tell you who you are. You stop bending yourself to fit into spaces that don't respect you. You stop chasing approval like it's oxygen. Instead, you start operating from self-respect. You start making decisions based on purpose, not popularity. You start choosing growth over comfort, truth over illusion, peace over attention. That's maturity. That's strength. That's freedom. Being alone teaches you how to become your own support system. It teaches you how to calm your own storms, motivate your own heart, correct your own behavior, and celebrate your own progress. And once you master that, relationships become additions, not necessities. You don't cling, you don't beg. You don't tolerate disrespect just to avoid solitude. You choose wisely because you know you're already whole by yourself. So don't fear the silence. Don't rush to fill every empty space. Sit there, listen, learn, grow, because in that quiet place, you're not losing yourself, you're finally meeting yourself. And the person you become there will be stronger, wiser, and more authentic than any version of you that depended on the crowd. Become someone you're proud to be alone with. Now here's where everything separates, because being alone by itself doesn't make you stronger. It just gives you space. What you do with that space determines who you become. The same quiet room that builds one person can break another. The same free time that creates a champion can destroy someone else. Why? Because loneliness is raw energy. If you don't direct it, it will consume you. If you don't use it, it will use you. Most people, when they feel alone, they reach for comfort. They numb the feeling instead of transforming it. Hours disappear into mindless scrolling, empty entertainment, pointless comparison, wishing they had someone else's life instead of building their own. They don't realize their bleeding time, the one resource you never get back. And while they're waiting for motivation, waiting for support, waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is in that same silence working, sharpening, preparing, becoming. You see, pain can be fuel if you stop treating it like poison. Loneliness can be power if you stop treating it like a curse. That restless feeling in your chest, that ache of wanting more, that discomfort of not being where you want to be, that's energy. Champions don't waste that energy complaining. They channel it. They put it into books, into training, into skill, building, into planning, into prayer, into execution. They turn emotion into motion. While others are numbing their minds, they're expanding theirs. While others are escaping reality, they're redesigning it. While others are saying, I'm alone, they're saying, good, fewer distractions, because focus is rare. Deep, uninterrupted focus is one of the most powerful advantages you can have in a distracted world. And solitude gives you that advantage for free if you're disciplined enough to take it. Think about it. Nobody is interrupting you. Nobody is pulling you into drama. Nobody is demanding your energy every second. That's not emptiness, that's opportunity. That's time to learn what others won't learn, practice what others won't practice, think at a level others won't think. That's laboratory time, that's workshop time, that's construction time. You are literally building your future in hours that most people throw away. But let me be honest with you, using loneliness as fuel requires a decision. It requires you to stop waiting to feel good before you do good. It requires you to act even when you don't feel inspired, to move even when you feel heavy, to show up even when nobody would know if you didn't. That's discipline, and discipline transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones because it compounds. One focused day becomes one focused week. One focused week becomes a new standard, and eventually what used to feel hard becomes who you are. And the beauty of this process is that it builds internal strength, not just external success. You're not just gaining skills, you're gaining resilience. You're teaching your mind that discomfort is not an emergency. You're proving to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to make progress. You're becoming someone who creates momentum instead of waiting for it. That kind of person cannot be easily stopped, because their power doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from commitment. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history didn't happen in crowded rooms, they happened in solitude, in long nights of thinking, experimenting, failing, trying again. Nobody applauded those hours, nobody posted about those struggles. But those unseen moments produced visible impact later, and the same principle applies to you. What you build in private will eventually introduce itself in public. So the question isn't whether you're alone. The question is, what are you producing there? Are you creating excuses or results? Weakness or strength? Distraction or mastery? Because one day this season will end, opportunities will come, doors will open, and when they do, you won't rise to the level of your dreams, you'll fall to the level of your preparation. Don't waste this space wishing for company when you could be building capacity. Don't let loneliness turn into self-pity when it could become self-mastery. Use the quiet to sharpen your mind. Use the discomfort to strengthen your will. Use the isolation to design a version of yourself that won't need rescue. Make your alone time produce a future your past wouldn't recognize. And after you've sat in the silence, after you've faced yourself, after you've used that loneliness as fuel, instead of letting it break you, something shifts. You start to realize you're not as fragile as you thought. You start to recognize that you can carry more than you gave yourself credit for. And that's where self-reliance is born, not arrogance, not isolation from the world, but an unshakable inner confidence that says, I can stand on my own. See, when you've never learned how to be alone, you depend on people for stability. You depend on their approval to feel worthy. You depend on their presence to feel secure. And the moment they leave, reject you, misunderstand you, or choose someone else, you collapse. Not because you're weak, but because you built your strength on something temporary. You made people your foundation instead of your addition. And anything built on a shaky foundation will eventually fall. But when you've mastered being alone, you don't crumble when someone walks away. You don't lose yourself when a relationship ends. You don't question your value because someone failed to see it. Why? Because you've already validated yourself in private. You've already proven to yourself that you can survive hard days without constant reassurance. You've already fought battles internally that nobody even knows about. That kind of strength doesn't disappear just because someone exits your life. Self-reliance is forged in those moments when you wanted to call someone, but chose to calm yourself instead. When you wanted someone to fix it, but decided to figure it out. When you felt fear, but moved anyway. Every time you solved your own problem, every time you disciplined your own mind, every time you held yourself accountable without needing an audience, you laid another brick in your foundation. Brick by brick, decision by decision, you built someone solid, and let me tell you something powerful. Confidence that comes from external praise is loud but fragile. Confidence that comes from surviving alone is quiet but unstoppable. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply stands because it's been tested. It's been stretched. It's been refined in silence. When you know you can handle loneliness, rejection stops being terrifying. Failure stops being fatal. Criticism stops being paralyzing. Because you understand something most people don't, you are enough to keep yourself moving forward. That doesn't mean you don't value relationships. It doesn't mean you push people away. It means you no longer cling out of fear. You choose from strength, not desperation. You connect from wholeness, not emptiness, and that changes everything. You walk differently when you don't need validation. You speak differently when you're not afraid of disapproval. You make decisions differently when you're not terrified of being alone again. Instead of settling for what's comfortable, you pursue what's aligned. Instead of begging to be accepted, you position yourself where you're respected. Instead of shrinking to keep people, you grow and trust that the right people will grow with you. Self-reliance also creates discipline at another level, because once you realize you are responsible for your own growth, excuses lose their power. You stop blaming your past. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop hoping someone will hand you the life you want. You understand that the same hands you used to survive alone are the same hands that can build success. And that realization is dangerous in the best way, because now you're not operating from fear of abandonment. You're operating from belief in your ability. You're not chasing people to fill gaps. You're filling gaps yourself. You're strengthening your weaknesses. You're sharpening your strengths. You're becoming someone who doesn't break under pressure because you've already endured pressure in private. And here's the beautiful truth: when you no longer fear being alone, you become fearless in pursuit. You take bigger risks. You speak your truth. You step into rooms you once thought you didn't belong in. Why? Because even if it doesn't work out, you know you'll be okay. You've been alone before. You've survived before. You've grown before. That memory becomes evidence, and evidence builds belief. That's the art, not avoiding solitude. Not resenting it, but allowing it to transform you into someone who doesn't need a safety net to walk boldly. Someone who doesn't shrink when support is absent. Someone who carries their own stability wherever they go. Stand alone long enough, and you'll realize you were never weak. You were just untested.